Is there a way for companies, I mean, are there tools or instruments that which can kind of give them a scorecard, if you will, that just says that, hey, listen.
No.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, that's an important thing because obviously companies need to measure things and manage things. And at Siemens, we had when I was there, we had a competency framework, where they identified the key competencies for leaders. And I was very pleased when they called it intercultural sensitivity. That was one of those. And they defined levels of intercultural sensitivity. And that was something which then was in the whole development of it was involved with the recruitment of people, and then it was involved in the development process. So when I had my performance management meeting with my boss, he had to give me like a grade for this topic alongside other things like decision making or whatever. There are some, and I list some in my book and explain them a little bit more than I can do now. Sure. There are some tools out there which some people find helpful. One developed by somebody called Milton Bennett some years ago, which I think is quite good, is called the International Development Inventory, IDI, and that looks at people and tries to identify what stage of intercultural development they're at. Because I would see basically 5 stages of being interculturally competent. As you said at the beginning, and we repeated, it's not like riding a bicycle. You can do it, but you can't do it. It's something which you can have degrees of. So I think the first stage in intercultural development is accepting culture, accepting there are differences, not saying everybody is the same. Then somehow understanding them, sort of saying, okay, I now know why this is the case. Then to move towards adapting, so dealing with this. Maybe you need to switch codes when you're talking to people, or you have to change your behavior. Then actually effectively functioning in the culture. And the 5th stage is what I call bridging culture. So you're like mediating between cultures. So you can define then behaviors, which this IDI, for instance, does, which are linked to these various stages, and say, okay, and you get people to talk about their encounters. And if they say, no, I think everybody's the same and we're a global company, then you realize they're in a very low level of this intercultural competence. There are some other tools as well which go a bit deeper. One is called the Cultural Orientations Indicator. I've used that with various companies. Actually, I'm trained to use that as a particular tool. And there's another one which I really like called the Intercultural Readiness Check. I think I would you can find these online, or as I say, I mentioned them in my book, and you can find the one that suits you. There's not one size that fits all. And I would be a bit careful with them because they're not magic. I think the most important thing with your is to get into some dialogue with people about where they talk about their experiences, and then you see where their development is. But the tool can be these tools can be an indicator, and I think the field is becoming much more scientific now than it was when I got started in 20 years ago.
Yeah, excellent. No, I really like you mentioned 3 specific ones, but the idea again is to use them as some kind of a benchmark, if you will, just to say that, hey, listen, maybe if I'm a 6, I think I can go and become an 8, or and maybe the instrument gives us that feedback, right? And so I think that's good.
What I actually meant is really to use them as a basis for discussion. So
sure.
For instance, this cultural orientations indicator, which I'm most familiar with because I got trained to use it. I was asked to coach some people in a very large logistics company worldwide. And although they're active worldwide, they didn't feel that the people had such an international mindset, and so they said, we want to coach these were key people in the management. So we got them to do this online test, and I got the results, and then they had like a 1-hour coaching session with me. And I found that very useful. The useful thing was not just the results, it was the discussion which was based on that. So you've got some basis, and you'd say, well, I was interested why you, maybe didn't do so well at this part of this test, and you did very well at this part. And then you build on that, and then that increases the awareness of people. So I would say these instruments should be used in connection with coaching, with training, with dialogue.